What's going on, guys? Getting in the green, coming with some player props, some betting lines, and a little prize picks action for you guys here, real quick on a Saturday. So let's get started.
Yeah,
Some good games this week, and some pretty chalky
for
lines.
sure.
But if you like them, they're looking pretty good. What do you got, Matt, as far as lines here for the football
Yeah,
games?
if we're gonna go games first. I got a couple that stand out to me. A lot more prop bets. I think the games are a little closer, but games so far, I like San Francisco. It's probably my play of the week. I think they probably are the biggest favorite, but I just see no scenario where Detroit is gonna give them any shot. If you really like them, I don't hate the line. I believe it's like -8. I'm personally just gonna play straight up San Francisco. You can get them anywhere from about -360 to -385, depending on what site you're using. I like that bet straight up. I also have no problem parlaying them with a couple other options. So that's probably my play of the week for the first one.
Yeah, and minus 380 is not a bad price at all. Detroit doesn't have much of anything on either side of the ball. San Francisco's defense should win this thing by themselves. So, yeah, minus 380 is a
Exactly.
great line. -9, look, first week of the season, I don't love the -9. I'll definitely just be playing the line straight up.
Yeah, you know what? I don't even like. Generally, I don't like playing point spreads week one, regardless. There's a lot that you make a lot of assumptions based on the year prior. There's some wild cards that happen week one.
Hmm.
Actually, a hard week to bet on. I like the straight up. I still think San Francisco wins this, but you're right. Lines are always a little sketchy week one. So 49ers, my most confident pick. On to the next one. I'm going to go with the Rams. I like the
Okay.
Rams to beat the Bears. Similar line. They're about -7.5. Very similar straight up line, right in that -350 to 375 range. Kind of a similar reasoning. I'm going to take them straight up. I will not play their line, but I think they got a hell of a lot more firepower than the Bears. I think the Bears are going to figure it out. I do not trust Andy Dalton to score enough points with the Rams. Also, I think the Bears' defense is still a good squad, but it's not that terrifying squad it used to be. I think the Rams are going to have the better defense and the better offense in that game. I like them straight up.
Yeah, I mean, as a Cowboys fan last year, I had to struggle through a couple games with Andy Dalton, and I mean, the guy doesn't have it anymore. This might be his only week starting, though, so definitely it's going to be a tougher Bears team once Justin Fields gets out there. But if we're
Yep.
rolling against Aaron Donald against Andy Dalton this week, I'll take that all day. Again, this is another
Exactly.
game. I could see this game being really low scoring, even though it's a prime time Sunday night. So I won't be touching the line again, but yeah, the money line is definitely in play here. The Rams are the better team, and I think Matthew Stafford's going to want to come out, kind of make a statement for himself here.
Yeah, I mean, those are definitely the two games that I'll be pounding heavily. There's a couple others that are interesting to me. I like the lines, but generally, those are my two picks. I like those two parlayed together. I think you get some pretty good odds. The other games I'm going to be talking about are games I have leans towards. I'm going to make smaller plays. The two bigger plays are going to be those two games. So next two games I'm interested in. It's probably the only other two I'm touching. Not that I don't have leans on other games, but like we said, week one's a little funky. I like the Chiefs straight up over the Browns, and I like the Packers over the Saints.
Yeah, I think that Chiefs Browns game is way too close of a line. I know some power
Yep.
projections have the Browns as a better team than the Chiefs, and that's just out of control hype from an offseason where they added Javavian Clowney. You're not stopping that Chiefs offense. I don't care who you have on that defense. And if the Chiefs get ahead early, we don't know what kind of Odell Beckham's coming back week one. I think Cleveland really might have
You
a
almost
hard time keeping up with points.
exactly. And you actually get some pretty strong lines there. What do we have? Kansas City, you can get at -245, which I do like that. Green Bay is -173. Um, Saints have a great defense. They're really well coached. They are just they're coming into a new era without Drew Brees. Aaron Rodgers is on that revenge tour. I just like the Packers a lot. I'm not going to lay too heavy because, like I said, New Orleans is a talented, well-coached team. But I think Green Bay's got a lot more going for them. It's also on neutral territory.
Yeah.
All the crap about Aaron Rodgers plays bad in Florida, I think it's exactly that. It's crap. I don't think that's a statistic that I'm really paying too much attention to. I like the Packers there at minus 173.
Yeah, the Saints could surprise everyone, but realistically, like their preseason hype, Jameis Winston will turn the ball over in this game. Great fantasy quarterback, terrible game manager, and the Green Bay secondary is legit. So I see a lack of weapons really hurting New Orleans here. Yeah, Green Bay. I mean, I'd probably just what is it? I think it's minus 2.5 right now, maybe minus 3.
Yeah, I believe it's minus 3.
Yeah, just I'd take the line. It's a good game. I think it's a 1 o'clock late game. So yeah, down in Jacksonville hurts New Orleans. I think even more than Green Bay. They were already going to go to the road. So yeah, Green Bay is a good play to line up. One more I want to point out, touching on it slightly. Not going to bet it too heavy, but I like Seattle at Indy. The Colts' offensive line still pretty beat up. Carson Wentz didn't get the preseason he was hoping for there, coming off the foot injury. Russell Wilson's primed to put up some points here. Colts, they want to run the ball, they want to control the clock, but if you get behind, that's out the window. And I see them struggling to play from behind this year, so probably be going a little bit there on the Seahawks.
I like that. I don't know if I'm confident enough on a bet, but I do like the Seahawks. While we're adding in one more that I think is worth mentioning, it was actually probably going to be the game I was most confident in going into the season, but everyone knows how all these injuries played out. But the Ravens over the Raiders, you can get them all the way down to about minus 185, minus 190 now. About a week and a half ago, they were a minus 350 to win that game. So there is value there if you believe the Ravens are still the better defensive team, better offensive team. It scares me a little bit with all those injuries. I'm probably not going to go heavy on that. But just an interesting proposition if you still think the Ravens are just gonna walk through the Raiders. That line has changed quite drastically, and gun to my head, I still think the Ravens win that game pretty easily. So
yeah, I mean, as long as Lamar Jackson isn't hurt, they didn't lose their starting running back, so
yeah,
I don't see the Raiders having too much for that team. They're missing weapons, but they got a great defense too, even with Marcus Peters now out for the year. Monday night, I think Baltimore handles them pretty easily. But games.
So those are.
Yeah, I mean the game bets are what they are, but we really focus. I mean, most of our time spent on fantasy, so player props is where we kind of make our living, and we got about 20 going this week. But we're going to narrow it down for you guys, give you guys like a top 10, and then really a top 5 that you can really focus on betting here.
And that's what I was about to add in was as much as we just brought up some good strong cases for those games. And again, Rams, 49ers are our biggest bets. We like the prop bets significantly more. The reason is there's just a lot that changes from season to season. Individual player usage, much easier to predict, much easier to project. Game outcomes a little bit harder, especially when you don't have your footing on how the season's going to play out. So those are our picks. Much more confident into the prop bets, which we're about to get into. We got quite a few more picks for you. So let's get into that.
Definitely want to start out pointing out we heavily lean when we can find good pass catching running backs. Their player props are usually really low on receptions, so that's one thing we're always looking for. We're looking for the shootout games, quarterbacks over touchdowns. But we'll dive into a couple of these. But those are kind of the things you're looking for. Sometimes you get good receivers and the lines are a little too high to play, but they get these pass catching running backs. The game's changed. 3-4 catches for these guys isn't out of the question at all. So, yeah, who we got first here, Matt?
All right, I got Joe Mixon for 3 receptions. He's coming in at about a minus 260 to minus 270 line, depending which betting site you're using.
Yeah, I like that. Burrow's going to drop off.
Exactly. We're looking at a high-scoring game, first off. I think it's going to be a nice high-scoring game. We're looking at a true 3-down workhorse back in Mixon. And we're looking at a guy that, if this bet was last year, I don't hate that bet for Mixon, 3 receptions. We're talking about a Cincinnati team that's most likely going to be trailing in this game and doesn't have Giovanni Bernard on their team anymore. This feels like a no-brainer to me. They're not going to be up having a big lead, handing off 20 times a game. They're going to be down. They're going to be passing. There's no way that he doesn't drop the ball off 3 times. And Joe Mixon is the passing running back because of the departure of Giovanni Bernard. Even last year, he had games, where with Joe Burrow in there that he was catching 6 receptions. I like this a lot. I think it's a fair line at -270. I don't know if it's an amazing value, but I think it's right on. I just feel very comfortable with him hitting that.
Yeah, game script's going to be in his favor. I think the 3-headed monster on the outside helps him. They don't really have a great tight end to drop off to either, so he's just going to get the dump offs. And if Minnesota's getting any kind of pressure on Burrow, with that offensive line kind of still really suspect, I think 3 catches is easy here.
Yep. All right, next one, we're going to go to another passing down back. Chase Edmonds, 14 receiving yards.
Coming in this one's interesting. Minus 360.
Yeah, minus 360, minus 380, depending on sites.
So, there's some concern here over the James Conner role there in Arizona, but if anything, if you think James Conner is going to take first or second down work from him, he's still going to be the third down back. He's the faster running back. He's got the better hands. Kyler Murray keeps plays alive. I like Edmonds a lot this week, and 14 yards. The way that offense moves, that could be 1 catch for him.
That's what I'm saying. This is pretty easy for me. This is if this was last year where it was Chase Edmonds and Kenyon Drake, and Chase Edmonds was clearly the third down guy, second stringer, I still like the line because he comes in on third down and the game script. This year, Chase Edmonds is the starter. We don't know how the carries are going to be split, but I guarantee you Chase Edmonds is going to get more work than he was at the beginning of the year last year. He's going to be catching passes. It's going to be a shootout with Tennessee. It's one of the games we've highlighted in a couple of our podcasts about this week. So love the game. It's going to be a lot of passing yards. There's going to be a lot of just yards gains and scores. I think he could hit 14 receiving yards in the first quarter. I really like this bet. I think it's pretty safe. And, you are getting a minus 360 for it, so it is a likely outcome even by betting standards and how they're setting the line. But I do think that's one of those where you could be not sweating it at all after half. He could be done at half.
Yeah.
All right. Next one we're going into the quarterbacks. This is a game we've talked about as a shootout, and I feel really comfortable. We got Wilson for 2+ touchdowns. He's coming in at minus 150. So as you can see, this is quite a bit better line than the other 2 that we just talked about, with great likelihood to happen. I like the game. We've talked a lot about this game. I think Russell Wilson's also just in general this year going to have an explosive year. He's going to be one of the top passing yards, top touchdown passes quarterback. I think he easily throws for 3 this game at least. We're going to get him at 2, and we're almost at even odds at minus 150. That's a great line. I really like that bet.
Yeah, you run a little risk of maybe Chris Carson piking 1 in the red zone, or Russell Wilson on a rollout takes it in on his feet. But for the most part, I got Seattle scoring 4 or 5 touchdowns in this game, and 2 of them are definitely going to be Russell Wilson passes. They got nobody on the outside for DK, and Lockett's definitely looking for a bounce back here too. Gerald Everett's, a wild card to catch one of those. So 2 touchdowns for Russell Wilson. I'm rolling that out all day long.
All right, next one. We're in the same game. We actually had 2 more in this game. We got Michael Pittman, 4 receptions, coming in at minus 270. So we've talked about him as a DraftKings sleeper for this week. This one comes down to game script and maybe your tolerance for risk when it comes to Carson Wentz. We know Pittman is the number 1 receiver there. We know this is going to be a high-scoring game. And we know for the most likely, Colts are going to be down to Seahawks. Equals passing. As long as Wentz is even half of the player he used to be, he's going to be looking for his number 1 target in Michael Pittman. I think 4 receptions should be a very easy play there.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean Wentz. You don't even need Wentz to be great here, and if you're playing Pittman on DraftKings, I mean, we kind of talked about his floor is a 5 receptions for 50 yards, which wouldn't be the
Yeah,
greatest game as far as fantasy goes, but I mean, he's going to see the lion's share of targets here. I don't see much competition. I could definitely see this guy at 12, 13 targets in this game, and we
exactly.
need, a 30% catch rate on that. So, yeah, 4 catches is the number one wide receiver in a game they're going to be down. Um, Definitely take that all day.
All right, next one, same game. We got DK Metcalf, 68 receiving yards for minus 215. Real quick, I want to just touch that we were deciding kind of between two lines here. You can either get DK for 68 yards at minus 215, or you can get Lockett for 58 yards for about the same on 215. There is a little bit of preference there. If you prefer getting the 10 yards less and going with Lockett, I understand that. I think they could easily both hit. Personally, you and me like DK better because we just think he's the safer play. I can live with those 10 extra yards going with the number one receiver. This is easy for us too. Game script. Either we're just way off on this game or we're not. If we're not off on this game, Russell Wilson's going to throw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, and somebody's going to have to catch those yardage. And it's either going to be DK, Lockett, or some combination of both. Coming at 68 yards, I'm very comfortable with him hitting that.
Yeah, I honestly could see this happening on one play for him. He's too fast for
Yeah.
those DBs. He's too big on these jump balls. Wilson likes to push it up the sideline to him. And that guy's going to hit a home run here in this game. And we didn't love his receptions because I could definitely see him getting held to, 5 catches. But there's no way this guy doesn't take 5 catches for 68 yards. So,
And especially, not to talk too much about Russell Wilson here, but it's like Russell Wilson has really turned into one of the best deep pass threats. He's super accurate. He's mobile enough to kind of be alive when the play breaks down, hit a guy deep. He's always done it, and he's very accurate. DK is the premier target to do that. He's huge. He's athletic. He goes up and gets the ball great. Like you said, this could be in one play. Even if it's not in one play, I see this happening in 2 catches in the game. 2 catches, he's going to catch 2 35-yard passes, no problem, and go over. In addition, he could also explode. I could see him having 150 yards receiving in this game. So I like that play.
yeah. And I mean, I want to point out, too, this could be the year of explosion for DK. Not that last year wasn't, but I mean, this guy has Calvin Johnson intangibles as far as physical ability. Um, his speed is unmatched at his size, and yeah, I think he makes a showcase out of Indy here, week 1.
Yep. All right, let's go on to one of the games we've been talking about a lot. It's going to be San Francisco versus Detroit. Our fantasy sweetheart, we're going with Mostert. We have 2 prop bets back to back with him. First one, Mostert, 60 rushing yards, minus 240. This one's pretty straightforward. I'm playing Mostert in basically all my daily. I have a crap load of him in my season long as well. Couldn't be more happy with week 1 matchup. Detroit is either ranked dead last or second to last in rushing based on last year. They're a bad team. San Francisco's going to be up early and often. They're going to be scoring. They're going to pound the rock. They're already one of the best rushing teams in the league. And I think Mostert, fully healthy, is going to eat here. This is another one of those where I would not be one bit surprised if Mostert has 60 yards at half or close to it, or gets 60 yards on one play. That's the type of game we're talking about. So I like that minus 250 or minus 240. I'm just going to go to the next prop just because we're talking about the same guy here. Mostert for 2 catches, you can get at minus 149. Might even be a better line. Just I feel good. The only thing that I think that hurts that game script is that San Francisco will be up, but I think Mostert could get 2 catches on the first drive. So
Yeah, and I mean, a couple home runs, and this game's out of control. But it doesn't change the style. They're going to do, Trey Lance is cleared to play. We're going to see some RPO with that guy. And yeah,
mhm.
Mostert getting 2 catches, I probably like more than the 60 yards.
Yeah.
Only because that's one drive for him in that offense and that style. I'm not worried about
Yeah.
Trey Sermon yet. Maybe later in the year you could have that argument. But week one, Mostert 100% healthy. They're going to roll him out as the RB1 here. And yeah, I mean,
You're
we're
getting a great
overexposed on this guy as
Yeah.
it is. So it's doubling down at this point that he's going off week one against, I think, second to worst run defense in the league behind Houston for Detroit there.
And I like that line. You're getting minus 149 as opposed to minus 240. So,
yeah.
Good line. All right, let's go to the next one. Next two, we got two kind of the big dog names because a lot of times we kind of stay away from, like Corey mentioned earlier, the biggest names in the game just because they're usually priced correctly. Doesn't mean they're not going to hit it, but we normally look for as much value as possible. A lot of times you can get that with a little bit more obscure or second string guys. But we're going straight into Christian McCaffrey. This one is not this isn't a pretty line. This is not a line that gives you a bunch of value. This is just our sure thing of the day for a free money. CMC is going to have more rushing yards than Ty Johnson. So we got Christian McCaffrey, best running back in football, going against Ty Johnson, who, if I'm not mistaken, is the technically third string running back for the Jets, who might be one of the worst rushing teams in football. You're going to have to pay for the line. It's coming in at minus 700. But considering some of the lines I see for a minus 500 favorite or a minus 600 favorite, this should be a minus 2,500 line. So we're value hunters. It doesn't, whether that's a huge line or a small line, we're value hunters. This is value because this line should be minus 3,000 and it's coming in at minus 700. This is one of the, I don't know depending on which betting site you use, these are the head-to-heads where you can actually have players in the same game going against each other. So Christian McCaffrey, more rushing yards than Ty Johnson, minus 700.
Yeah, nothing to say here. Also, I'd like to point out, sometimes they set these lines up and they put them against a home run hitter on the other side. It's like, oh, could I get burned if this guy runs an 80-yard touchdown run? That is not the case with Ty Johnson. Ty Johnson's best case scenario in this game is probably 16 rushing yards if he even gets to see the field. So, yeah, minus 700. Look, depending on the site you're using, use it as a parlay piece. But, I mean, straight up, I think if you're going to be betting enough money to make it worth your while, minus 700 is not a bad price to pay. We've paid worse for, less sure things. This, like you said, minus 3,000 would have been, we wouldn't have bet it, but I could have definitely seen that being the line here.
Well, that's the value of the line.
Yeah.
And getting minus 700 is great. Yeah, again, straight up, it's fine. If you're not the type of bettor that uses that type of money and there's no value there, great parlay piece. Put that on with two other big favorites, you got a decent parlay going.
Yeah.
All right. Not much to say there. We'll move on to the next one. We got Keenan Allen over 5.5 catches. Great actual line. We're getting even money, pure even money there. So I'll let you. I know you were high.
Yeah, I like this one a lot, and we touched on it yesterday for DraftKings. Is that I think the Washington defensive line is going to be putting the pressure on Herbert, and it's going to force him into those short, quick slant routes. Keenan Allen's one of the best route runners in football. I mean, he's up there with, Cooper and some of these other guys that just run great routes. He eats under 10 yards. He's a chain mover for them. This one's a no-brainer for me. And I also think they're going to have a hard time running the ball. Eckler's a little beat up. I could see them definitely limiting his work, especially with that hamstring scare. Same injury they lost him to last year. So if any of Eckler's catches end up going to Keenan, I mean, I liked him before the injury. Definitely like him with the Eckler scare this week.
Yeah, I like it too. Obviously, I'm a Chargers homer over here. I love Keenan Allen. He's a great possession receiver. I think even if Herbert struggles to actually score touchdowns in this game, we have low scoring, he's ultimately going to figure out he's going to have to move the ball. He's going to force feed his favorite target. It's going to be Keenan Allen. I like him to get that over 5.5 receptions.
Yeah, even money as well on that line too. It's a good price where he's at.
Okay, next one. We like them both, but kind of this is another one. Pick the style you like better. Devonta Smith, you can get 3 receptions for minus 270, or you can get 36 yards for minus 270. So identical lines. 3 receptions or 36 yards. We love them both. We've been very high on DeVonta Smith. We talked about how we love this game. It's going to be high scoring. Jalen Hurts is our quarterback in a lot of these DraftKings situations. And we believe DeVonta Smith will be the number 1 receiver for Philadelphia, even week 1.
Yeah, and again, I want to point out route running. DeVonta Smith isn't the specimen of an athlete. I mean, he's fast and, he's got great hands, but he's not some massive receiver. But he runs great routes. And it's hard week 1 because I know we've been hyper-focused on a couple guys all preseason waiting for this. So, Mostert and DeVonta Smith are definitely 2 we're overexposed on here. But, look, Jalen Reagor on the other side is the deep threat. I'm not too worried about that guy stealing receptions and target share. They got 2 tight ends who are going to get some catches. But as far as getting a wide receiver 1 for 36 yards and 3 receptions, I mean, that's in a shootout game against Atlanta with no secondary. This one's a no-brainer for me, man. Again, if we get caught being wrong on DeVonta Smith, then we're wrong all week long. But I got no problem doubling down here with the player prop bets.
Yeah, and if you're on a site that allows you to, if you parlay both of those, you got 2 minus 270s. Most likely, if one happens, the other happens, you can actually get a very good line on betting practically the same thing on DeVonta Smith. Another food for thought there. All right, we'll go on to the next one. We're on the same game. Matt Ryan, 2 touchdowns, is a minus 195 to minus 200. We've talked so much about this game. We love this game. It's going to be a shootout. It's going to be high scoring. The reason we like Matt Ryan better than a couple of these other quarterbacks is the guy's only going to throw touchdowns.
Yeah.
There's no rush threat. He's not running them in. I'm not saying I dislike Mike Davis. I like Mike Davis. He's a good running back. He's very serviceable. I'm not super scared he's going to steal my touchdowns like a Derrick Henry or something like that.
Or even Todd Gurley last year for them.
Yeah, exactly. I think the game script is perfect. Matt Ryan's throwing 1 to Calvin Ridley, and he's throwing 1 to Kyle Pitts. Without a doubt in my mind, that's what's going to happen. He probably is going to have 3 touchdowns in this game, but I feel very comfortable with, at the end of the day, the score. I think both teams are going to score well above, right in the 28 to 31 range. He's throwing 2 touchdowns if that's the score that we think it will be.
Yeah, and I mean, we've been burned in the past with these dual threat quarterbacks kind of running in the red zone ones, but you don't have that scare with Matt Ryan. And yeah, he's got red zone threats, man. I like Pitts in the red zone, and I like Ridley. So yeah, 2 touchdowns, definitely. I mean, I can see that guy throwing 4, so I feel real safe at 2 here.
Yep. All right, let's. We got 3 more props left. We're going 3 running backs, and we're going receptions. Let's start. We got big dog coming up, Alvin Kamara. 4 receptions, minus 250. I think we were talking about, I know it's a different quarterback. Last time they played Green Bay, I think he ended up with, 10 catches or something ridiculous.
13.
So, 13 catches. This is a guy that he is going to be the absolute focal point of the offense. While we're talking about Alvin Kamara, let's talk a little bit about, while we're doing our podcast yesterday, we find out that Traquan Smith, not only did he miss practice, he gets pushed on IR. So maybe we take back a little bit where we were talking about Callaway. Maybe he's a better play on DraftKings than we thought yesterday. For this purpose of this conversation, never more doubt that Kamara is the guy that Sean Payton will have to make the complete focus of this offense. If they stack the box, he's going to find some struggle running. They're going to have to find a way to get him the ball. They're going to pass him the ball without a doubt. 4 receptions, I think he hits this relatively easy. And yeah, that's pretty straightforward. I think he could get 30 touches in this game because what else are they going to rely on? They're probably going to be down to Green Bay. The receivers are probably going to be well covered because they kind of know what's coming on. There's going to be so many drop-offs to this game. And he's a home run threat. He's the guy that you should game plan to try to get him those drop-offs.
Yeah, I like Kamara all day here. If there's any weak spot on this Green Bay defense, it's their linebackers and pass coverage. They're banged up on the outside linebackers. Sean Payton knows it. He knew it last year. He attacked them. I think he had 16 targets, 13 receptions in that game against Green Bay last year. And Sean Payton's a great coach. There's no reason that guy's not going to go back to the well here.
Yeah.
Do I expect 13 catches again? No. 7 or 8's definitely on the table. And over 4 receptions. They got to move the chain somehow. They only have Callaway on the outside now. So, yeah, Alvin Kamara, even with Traquan playing, I had. But now that Traquan's on IR, this is a no-brainer.
I love it. For all the reasons me and Corey just said, I'm all about it. I'm all for it. I will admit there's a slight layer of risk when we take a step back from our own kind of personal beliefs. We are talking about a new quarterback. We're talking about a new offense. We're talking about a banged-up offense. This is one of those games where you want to wait and see how week 1 plays out. Fair play. I'm not going to blame you for that. I understand that logic. You might miss out on an easy one, but there is that level of risk with the new quarterback, which I understand. All right, next one. Kareem Hunt, 2 receptions, minus 244. This one's pretty easy for me. First off, Kareem Hunt's a talented guy. He's clearly a receiving back, the third down back. This one is game script to me. Very simple. If you disagree with us and think the Browns are going to beat the Chiefs, then maybe you don't love this line because it's Nick Chubb time. If you believe Kansas City will have a lead, even if it's a shootout, then Kareem Hunt's getting 2 catches, no freaking problem. And if they're not pounding the rock every play and have a lead, then they're going to need to move the ball because they're going to need to keep up with Kansas City, even if it's not a blowout, even if it's just a high-scoring affair. Baker Mayfield's going to need to move the ball quicker than running and taking these 10-minute possession-type scores. And Kareem Hunt's going to get a little bit more play time. I bet you the carries are going to be closer to 50-50 because of the game script. 2 catches, no problem. On games that I think the Browns destroy people, then I don't necessarily love Hunt because it's going to be all Nick Chubb show. We're going to get a high-scoring game. They're going to utilize that passing back.
I also think Kansas City's going to sell out on stopping Chubb. And I saw a lot of last year when they run their 2-back sets. You know, it's a play fake to Chubb and a little swing pass out there to the Kareem Hunt on the outside. 2 catches against arguably the best offense in football. Yeah, I mean, they're lacking on weapons on the outside. They know their strengths, their 2 running backs, and even if he's RB2 here on the depth chart, I mean, that guy's he's in line for 15 touches a game. So I don't see much risk here. Great line, great price for him. You're not going to see that too many more times this year. I definitely see his receptions going up to 3, maybe 4 by next week. But he's the pass. You know, Chubb doesn't catch that many passes for them. They like to go to Hunt. They like to get him in open space, and they run plays for him, you know. And, yeah, this one, I like the game again, and I definitely like the game script for him here.
All right, last one we have, another one I love. Myles Gaskin, 2 catches, minus 290. This is a guy who, first off, looks like he's the workhorse. He looked great last year when he was in that role. Preseason, he was getting every touch. Shot up a lot of people's draft boards. We're talking about a game where New England has a great defense. I think they're going to shut down the run, and Miami's going to need to figure out how to do something, how to switch it up, how to move the ball, how to get a little tricky. No way Gaskin's not getting 2 here. I think he's one of the better catching running backs in the game. Very versatile. And you got Will Fuller out, limited options, basically 2 receivers in Gaskin that they're going to. I like that play a lot.
Yeah, and this is another one where I see pressure in the backfield from that New England defensive line. And, you know, the only way to slow that down is to call a couple screen passes early, kind of make them at least respect the idea that they could get beat the other way. So, yeah, Gaskin for 2 catches. I like it a lot. He runs up the field a lot, too, man. He runs a lot of routes for them. And, yeah, lack of weapons without Will Fuller, even though we touched on Waddle and Devontae Parker's kind of declining. He's out there. But Myles Gaskin for 2 catches here. I see 2 screen passes on the first 2 possessions of the game for them. So, you know, they might not go anywhere, but that doesn't matter when you're playing receptions here. So,
exactly. So, you know what? I think we highlighted quite a few here. We honestly love all of these. You kind of got to go as a viewer here. If you got a gut feeling about somebody, go for it. We're going to give you our best 5 out of what we just mentioned. Doesn't mean these 5 are better than what we're talking about. These are the 5 that we believe give you the best value, which is a combination of safety of hitting plus the actual line that we got. If you disagree with us, go with one of the other ones we mentioned. We love all of these. We're giving you our top 5. First one, Russell Wilson, 2+ touchdowns, -156. This one is not just about the safety and the game script. It's actually the line. I really love getting that -150 to -155 line. I think there's great value in that. I thought it would have been closer to like a -250. I thought Russell Wilson would have been 3+ touchdowns. So great line. That's my pick, mostly based on the line there.
Yeah, and that guy, I mean, you look at the first half of the season last year was an MVP candidate leading the race. This guy can absolutely throw the rock before they got beat up on the offensive line last year, and they're going to come out and they're going to prove a point here, and he's throwing 2 touchdowns here week 1.
All right, number 2, Hines, 2+ receptions, -350. This was just my safe one. -350 is not necessarily the greatest value for a prop bet. Hines, they just paid the guy $6.5 million a year. He's getting paid more than Eckler. Pretty sure they're going to include him in the game script. They're going to be down. Hines is getting 2 catch possibly on the first drive.
Yeah, I think we might have skipped over this one right on the first time through, but yeah, Jonathan Taylor's going to dominate early work for this team, and yeah, they paid Hines to be the third down back. Same thing, yep. Same role he played last year. He had some games, monster games, and I think everyone's loading up on the Taylor hype train, thinking that he's going to just be a 3-down back, and they're not going to work him like that. They don't need to. So a game script going against him, Hines, I like all day.
All right, next one is Mostert, 2 catches. That's mainly based on the line. We've already talked enough about Mostert. We don't need to go into that. A -145 line, great line. Okay, next one, we're going with Devonta Smith, 3 receptions. We've already talked about that. I personally like the 3 receptions more than I like the 36 yards, -270. We already talked about if you want to parlay those 2, you can get even better line. But for safety purposes, Devonta Smith, 3 receptions.
Yeah, definitely want to point out, too, he's a high candidate to look at some wide receiver screens there for that Philly team. And when receptions count, like those are just gimmies.
All right, and then the last one we are going with is going to be Matt Ryan, 2 touchdowns, -190. We already talked about this game enough. We love that, and it's the value there. There's some other plays that I mentioned that I think are just as safe as that one, but they're more in the -275 range, -250. At -190, -195, I think it has the same safety as some of those other ones, and you're getting great value there.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, he's throwing 2 touchdowns here. So, yeah, look, we gave you about 10, 12 player props to look at, our 5 best choices. You got a couple game lines from us. One last thing we want to touch on here is Prize Picks. This will be our first year really playing on this platform, and they're up and coming. It's a really fun player prop website where you're just playing over-under. You can do single stats, receptions, rushing yards, things like that. You can also go over-under fantasy points. And for us, I mean, every week we're looking for the guy we see as the cheap boom player, and he's coming in on Prize Picks maybe 7 fantasy points, and we've got him projected out at 15. I also want to point out, when you're really betting and you're, looking at your results, parlays aren't necessarily the best idea. You tend to get burned more often. So they have a flex play on Prize Picks where you pick 5 props that you like, you parlay them together. But on the flex play, at 3 wins, you're getting money back. At 4 wins, you're profiting, and then at 5 wins, you're getting your return. So they kind of give you that safety net to really load up some parlays. And honestly, this is one of those, we're going to fill it out. We'll see how it goes here a couple weeks. But we cleaned up Thursday night on this. And, this is one of those where this could just be easy pickings. I think they're also just giving you a gimme here week 1 just to kind of get people to sign up. They have Patrick Mahomes passing yards is at 0.5. So if that guy throws for 1 yard, you win. So look, free money. I'm pretty sure even if that guy got injured and didn't throw a pass, they would just give you your money back. Hey, it's fun. And if you're already on fantasy and you're already looking at player props, this is a nice, easy platform to parlay and kind of tie things together.
I'll add in. First off, it's fun and unique. I think anyone who's very into the daily scene or the betting scene, unique new ways to kind of bet on those things are always fun. So it's a unique site. It's fun. On top of that, though, like Corey said, there is some ways to minimize risk, help returns. It's also a newer site. This isn't, we're not talking about Vegas lines or people that have been doing this forever, or even DraftKings and FanDuel, which are much larger now. It's a newer site. When you really dig deep in there, there is some massive value plays because I think they're still figuring out how to set the fantasy lines and how to use those projections. So there's a lot of value that we can take advantage of right now. Like Corey said, we've already done that Thursday. We're going to see how the season plays out. Check it out. They got some cool free offers basically to get you some free money going. And we'll be eventually adding some of our picks in there to show you kind of how much value you can get versus the standard way of betting on the props and games.
Yeah, sounds good. And guys, check in. We'll do a Sunday morning where we kind of give our final thoughts here before the games get started. But if you have any questions last minute, send them in to us, and we'll get them answered for you guys. All right.